the president has shown again he don't give a damn about poor people. He don't give a damn about people of color. And the SOB that rides around in Air Force One is denying services needed by the people of Puerto Rico. I hate to say it that way, but there's no other way to say it.
The reality is that the administration and the president, every time that we've spoken, I've had an ask, they've delivered. So much so that this morning, late last night, I asked for a waiver on the Jones Act, and right this morning, the president accepted that waiver.
Two very different takes on the federal response to Puerto Rico. Russell Honore and the current governor of Puerto Rico. This, as the president tweeted today, the electric power grid in Puerto Rico is totally shot. Large numbers of generators are now on the island, food and water on site. As you take a look at our new poll, Fox poll on the president's handling, approval, disapproval, and on the top of the chart, hurricanes, approve 60%, disapprove 31%. You can see the other issues there, healthcare wrapping out on the bottom, upside down, 35 to 58. With that, let's bring in our panel. Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano, Amy Walter, national editor for the Cook Political Report, and Byron York, chief political correspondent of the Washington Examiner. What about the response in Puerto Rico? You heard the interview with Tom Bossert and what they're doing and what the tough thing is to get the material through the island of Puerto Rico.
You know, I've been watching this all day and even on some of the other networks, and I'm fixated with our own Geraldo Rivera, who just is living amidst this and is painting a very, very bleak picture. I think that General Honore, who, of course, was in charge of the rescue efforts in Katrina, was unduly harsh and personal with respect to the president. But there is the perception, and it is based upon on-the-ground reporting by Geraldo and others, that the president is more interested in other things, certainly was more interested in Irma and Harvey than he has been in the catastrophe that has become Puerto Rico. Can he recover from this? Yes, he can. He's had a very bad week because of domestic political events here. But sticking to the Puerto Rican story, the impression is too little, too late, too below the radar screen for this White House.
Yeah, Amy?
Yeah, and I think it started, again, with the first tweets that came from the president seemed to put a lot of the blame on Puerto Rico itself, right? The talk about, well, this is a country that's, this is a, Puerto Rico itself, not a separate country, of course, but it's a territory that is struggling. It has bankruptcy. It has problems with its infrastructure. And then it was only after that then that the discussion turned to, here's the help that we're giving. Look, there are some logistical challenges to getting aid to an island. There's no doubt about that. But the challenge, this is what President Bush found, and this president's finding as well. When people are reporting from these scenes, and you with your very own eyes as a viewer can see just what it looks like to be there, you instantly ask why the government isn't doing a better job.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I think Twitter loses nuance. I think he was trying to perhaps say that the big problems in Puerto Rico are multiplied exponentially because of the situation they had prior going in. Understood the implication there. What they're doing now, is it getting enough to balance out what the feeling is on the ground as far as the public sentiment about Puerto Rico?
Well, clearly not people who are needing help and aren't getting it. I mean, obviously they're not getting what they need. But I don't think the White House fully appreciated the incredible logistical nightmare that this actually is. Obviously there have been efforts. We see all of these containers that are piling up that have not been distributed, but they got there. So I think clearly it took a few days to realize that this was something beyond the capabilities of a normal response, and this is most important because of the substance of it. People need help. But politically, that number you showed was really quite impressive. 60% of the people approve of Trump's handling of the two earlier hurricanes. That's 11% more than any other topic for him.
Yeah, but I think to that point, that was from the earlier hurricanes. I'd be very curious to see what those numbers are a week from now when we ask that question.
All right, let's turn to taxes. Here's the Vice President and Gary Cohn and some Democrats talking about tax reform.
Before we get to Christmas of this year, we're going to pass the largest tax cut in American history, and we're going to get America growing again.
We think we can pay for the entire tax cut through growth over the cycle.
If he used that funny kind of math at Goldman Sachs the way he is using it here in Washington, he would have been kicked out of that firm a long time ago.
Wealthy Americans are not getting a tax cut.
Please, let's have some honesty here.
Lying is a growth industry around here. Now, I really like Chuck, but when it comes to tax reform, our bill, he's going through a phase. It's called brain dead.
All right, so some thoughts there about taxes. As we kind of start to get the details, they'll be worked out on Capitol Hill, Judge.
You know, this is one of the major events that Donald Trump has been waiting for and that he pushed during the campaign. They did not succeed, as we all know, try as they did, with respect to the Affordable Care Act. He promised a huge tax cut, one that would cause a sort of reshaping of the tax landscape. I was hoping for the postcard-size tax return, and apparently that will be the case for many Americans, but not for all of us. Do I like everything in there? No. Do I like the concept, the principle of a huge tax cut so as to regenerate the economy? Absolutely. Do I think it will pass? Yes. I think even my small government buddies in the Congress, particularly in the House, who do not want to see the deficit increased, will vote for this tax cut.
I mean, the Freedom Caucus has already kind of signed on, but we don't know the details yet.
The problem with this is the whole discussion is hypothetical. That if you listen to Gary Cohn today, he said we're going to cut middle-class taxes, although people were coming up with scenarios under the framework in which this or that middle-class family would pay more in taxes.
State and local deductions and how it affects each state.
If you take the 7 brackets down to 3, where are the lines between those brackets? The child tax credit, how much is that going to be? He's going to have to come up with a lot more to satisfy a number of conservative Republicans who want to make up the gap and want it to be family-friendly as well. So the problem with this discussion now is everything is on the level of hypothetical.
And quickly, because I want to save it for Secretary Price's panel, the second panel here, but Amy, that is the question. I mean, we could see a lot of changes in this thing from the original rollout. The death tax could not be totally eliminated, and perhaps, who knows, a 1% payroll tax cut. Something could be put in there that hits the middle class more than it does now.
Well, and this is the other challenge, which is what Republicans had going into the health care debate. There were mixed messages coming from Congress and from the president. Nobody really sold it. All the discussion was really process-oriented and really focused on getting individual members to vote for it. Nobody sold it to the public. This is going to take an effort, not just getting the votes, but making the case that this is going to help regular people. And when it comes to taxes, people know it instantly, right? You're going to get your tax bill. You're going to know whether you got a cut or whether you got an increase. You can't kind of just spin your way out of this. So being able to make that case, Democrats in being against this are going to be unified in their message. They can be very disciplined on that. Can Republicans be disciplined in selling it?
88% want small business and middle class to get tax cuts.